Welcome, welcome. Hope everybody is good. Alright, so we got that. I last time I was here. Lawful greetings, welcome. Last time I was here on the live, I promised you guys some research material. So I am going to be delivering that shortly. So stay tuned. This looks pretty good. Alright, time to get rid of all of this. People, I am a little bit exhausted today, so we might not have a very lengthy live like I used to. Greetings, Sabak, Lawful, welcome. Yeah, today might be a short live, but nonetheless, I will still deliver, you see. Alright, let us update our draft because I'll be a joke thing on the pan, you know. Be a joke thing on the pan. Alright, so VOJ has been updated. And what was the other thing I wanted to cover? TikTok police, Lawful, welcome. Let's see. Interesting. All right. So today we're gonna dive into a little bit of a different direction. Oh, there was another document I need to pull up. But we're gonna get started here now still. So the poker. We're gonna touch on poker today. Which one this? Okay. I think we have the right one. Eagle King, Lawful, welcome. So, first things first. As always, I am not a lawyer, I am not an attorney, I am not providing legal advice. Anything I say is my own opinions. If you learn something, good for you. So today, Finsack, Lawful, greetings, welcome. Yeah. So first thing I will cover is the last time when I was here, I was talking about some research on Soursop, right? I was telling you that back when we had the pandemic, back in 2019, 2020, there were a lot of scientists that came to Jamaica and they were testing the plants. They were testing to see, because a couple years before that, you know, Usain Bolt break the record again And them I wonder what in our food, what is keeping us in such high spirits, etc. Blah blah blah. So then claim, right? So one load of scientists drop in at the place and then start study. So then you start hear about the soursop, and the cancer thing and all of that. So I was doing some research on it as well, right? Because sometimes them tell you say you can take this and you can take that, but then them put in for them spin pan it. So by time you go follow for them regiment, if you say, okay, if you take that way, if you take with this, if you take with that, or them a try make some kind of powdery substance in order to sell you, right? We all know say we can't just throw something in our backyard and soursop tree grow. But to them want something them can manufacture and add, put all kind of dirt and powder and whatever in it. And I saw them want to sell it back to the public instead of tell people say, yo, plant one soursop tree. Anyways, or eat some soursop, drink some soursop juice, whatever. So I am going to show you some of the research studies that they conducted and the conclusions. We're not going to go through the whole research study, right? I am going to share the links on voiceofjamaica.com. So if you are interested in reading the whole thing, I will share all the links on there. So you will have access to the material if you did not already have it, right? So I'm going to switch over to the computer so I can show you what exactly I'm talking about, right? Let me see if we can, see if we can adjust the tripod something here. Yeah. Okay. So this is one research study, right? And we are going to the conclusion because we don't really want to hear what them did they do with it, right? See the conclusion here. Kem, Lawful, welcome. Them say, soursop leaf, endophytic fungi, ethyl acetate extracts are toxic to cervical cancer. So this one is specifically targeting cervical cancer, right? This is what this research was about. As indicated by inhibiting the proliferation of HeLa cancer cells in vitro. Crude ethyl blah 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 extract of isolated endophytic fungi SM2 has the potential as an anti-cancer. The SM2 shows high cytotoxicity to cervical cancer cells and produces the lowest toxicity on Chang's normal cells. Morphological identification suggests that the endophytic fungi, I don't know why them have to use them long scientific name. Anyways, this fungi SM2 belongs to the Penicillium genus. Furthermore, molecular identification using ITS shows that SM2 is similar to P blah blah blah. The endophytic fungi SM2 is the potential for developing anti-cancer drugs. So what they are saying with all of this is that the soursop leaf then can use it to develop anti-cancer drugs. So them tell we all of this scientific garbage. We just tell we say them I use soursop leaf to develop anti-cancer treatment. Alright? So that's one research. Let's go to another one. Here we have this one targeting breast cancer. Zine? So when we go down here, so them give you the result right at the beginning. So let's zoom in on this. See if we can bring this over. So let's look at the conclusion what them get. Right? Therefore, the leaves of the medicinal plant A. muricata contain compounds that on extraction exerted a highly effective activity as an anti-cancer treatment for breast cancer via induced apoptotic cell death, meaning the cell kill itself. Right? So, soursop or Ammona muricata is the same name, them just use a different language or a different scientific name to identify it. Right? So, it also good for breast cancer. Leave them. The next study. This one talks about breast cancer again. Right? Here, the conclusion. Therefore, the leaves of the medicinal plant. So this basically I say the same thing. Right? It cause induce apoptotic cell death for breast cancer. And here we have myeloid leukemia. So this is a cancer of the blood, if I am not mistaken. Right? And if we go down, all right, I think them have it here, so in the abstract. And it said the plant soursop, Ammonia muricata, is of a particular interest due to its potential application as an anti-cancer agent. Studies indicate that soursop exhibits cytotoxic effects on leukemic cancer cells through the induction of apoptosis. This is basically the cell committing suicide, and the inhibition of proliferation, meaning it stop it. It stop it from spreading, stop it from regenerating or creating more of the garbage in the cancer cell. Future research will investigate the mechanism of action and effectiveness of soursop in eliminating AML cells. Right? So when you start reading through these research material, they know that the soursop kill off the cancer cell them. But what they start doing is they start adding things to it. Right? They are claiming that they're trying to make it more effective. But what they're doing is they're trying to bring down the effectiveness so they can lengthen the treatment. They can sell you more. They can give you one 2 or 1 3-year regimen instead of a 3 to 6 month regimen. Right? So the fruit and the leaves. Now someone had mentioned the bark. I have not heard about the bark, right? Let's see. Let us take a look at the bark. See if they have anything on the bark. Yeah, I did not find anything on the bark itself. Let us do a exact search. I don't see any research, direct research study on the tree bark. Damian, lawful, welcome. But the soursop itself, the soursop and the leaves, definitely a strong anti-cancer agent that can work. Sometimes, me not tell nobody if you go do nothing. Me just show you say the research is there. These people are experimenting and coming up with pills and regimens that they can sell. They don't want to tell you to go eat no soursop or go drink soursop leaf tea 2 times a day. Right? They want to sell you a pill and tell you take the pill 2 times a day or 3 times a day, and you have to buy the pill. Right? So anyways, that is that. Now, the last time we also covered Jamaica's death clock. They stop you from export it. Of course, they're gonna stop people from exporting it. How are they gonna make money? Right? So we were talking about this last time as well, where Jamaica apparently has a debt of 10 billion US dollars. But yet still, Jamaica is making way more than that on a yearly basis. Right? Here we have Jamaica's mining revenue for 2024. Right? And here we're looking at, you see, them not really show you the full numbers, you know. Like them show you from January to September, 500 million, right? And if you even, I mean, I guess you can guesstimate. You can just use this as a rough figure, right? This is 500 million. 1,000 million would make a billion, right? So, again, when we look at the different sectors in which the government is generating revenue, right? And on top of that, we know so them now spend the whole light every single year. Where is all of this money going? Right? How much expenses we have so that the 70% that would have been left over after we pay our debt, we really are use up so much money? And if we are, what exactly are we using it on? Right? We don't have no transparency where we can actually see the books to confirm whether or not we are actually what we are actually making, what is in the consolidated funds of the nation, right? How much tax dollars do we actually have? How much are we investing? How much is left over at the end of the year? We don't know nothing. We don't know nothing, and yet still they keep on saying what? It is the tax dollars, it's the people's tax dollars, it's the public's tax money. They keep telling you that, you know, but yet still, you don't have no access nor any insight into it, right? So, what is the point of telling us it is our money and we can't access it? We not see no benefit from it, and all you're trying to do is create jobs. Like we are saying, you know, you see, if we find out, say we have a $110 trillion, everybody can get a couple million and call it a day. Why do we keep saving? What are we saving for? Right? Quality flooring, you want to come up? Yeah, what exactly are we saving for? What are we doing? If we can't see what we have, how we are going to see what we are go? How do we know that the reason we are paying taxes is for an actual reason and not just because it's a habit? A lot of these questions cannot be answered because we have no transparency into our finances. But anyways, that's the research. That this is another industry in which, you know, Jamaica is making over $500 million every single year, and we don't see where that money is going. And again, this is revenue. This is not, you know, we don't have no expenses for go against this. This is direct revenue. Anyways, all right, let me get rid of this. So, for those of you who are new here, we're gonna go over constitutional draft just a little bit. If you want a copy of the document, this is how you get there. You go to voiceofjamaica.com. As you can see, yaso. Gotcha. Yaso. Voiceofjamaica.com. Alright. And you scroll down, and the first post that you see should say new constitution. Right? The research material is going to be here. Possibly by tomorrow, so you can check out the website by tomorrow and you'll see the source of research material posted in this section. Right, so you go to new constitution, and here we'll have the constitutional draft, and if you want to make a suggestion to add to the draft, you can make a suggestion here. If you want to see what others have suggested prior, you can scroll down and you can see that. Right, So let's take a look at the draft. The draft is almost complete. We're getting ready for stage 2. Once we are done with the draft and getting it cleaned up, getting all the sections coordinated properly, the table of contents should now be correct. So the page numbers should be matching the sections. So you can look through the document, and if there is a section that interests you, then you can scroll down to that section and check out what it's actually about, right? And again, for those who are going to be asking the same question we have on every live, why is Jamaica spelled with a YKA? It is because the current Jamaica that you know is a name brand, and we do not want to infringe on that copyright. So therefore, this is the spelling that we are using in the Constitution. See? All right. So that being said, we have the last section that we had here was the civil militia, right? And previously we also talked about arming the nation. We are currently a disarmed nation, meaning we have no way of defending ourselves. And that is one of the reasons why we have such a high crime rate. Because, you know, those who are nefarious, they know that people don't have weapons and people don't have a way to defend themselves. And thereby, you know, you become a target. So we have a section here, right, where if we are to have a protected and an educated nation, we need to be able to defend ourselves in private, right? So we have a section here that trains our children, right? Trains our children from primary school to secondary education. So that way, we start having a nation where not only the parents, not only, you know, those who are coming up, but also those who are already who are already vulnerable and those who are already capable can get defensive training. Just like when you are getting a firearm, you know, you can go into like a range facility and get basic safety training, basic firearm training, and basic operational training on how you use your weapon, right? So that should be a national endeavor. We should not be placing barriers on people owning firearms. It don't make no sense. If that is the case, and we know that criminals and those who would harm the people in our nation are going to be targeting them, then what is the point of keeping the nation unarmed? The only other solution to that, if we are disarming people, is to have a bigger police force and a bigger army, right? And that is never the answer, because then we're going to have a police state. It doesn't make sense to have a police state, because then you're going to have more tyranny. You're going to have police going around and doing whatever they please in the name of justice, right? In the name of keeping the peace. You have no privacy, you have no rights, you have nothing. Police them feel like them can just run in and do whatever them please. So it is best to have the nation itself be protected and be armed so that they can take care of themselves in the private and the police force take care of things in the public, right? That's how you maintain a balance. So that being said, once we have a properly trained society, then we can have a civil militia, a private group in every parish, who, in case there is a constitutional violation, right, where we have any kind of tyranny going on, we the people ourselves can come together and say, no, we are going to quash that, right? So that is the point of these last section, right? To be able to defend ourselves and also defend our nation. Because if we are not able to first defend ourselves, then we can't talk about nation defending, right? We can't talk about invasion. We can't talk about protecting not only our rights and our property, but our family as well, right? So that is the purpose of these last sections. So let us cover the last one again, right? Where we talk about protection. And this is section 46, right? We talk about self-defense and community protection, right? This article protects the right of lawful self-defense and establishes regulated civilian arms ownership for protection of life, family, property, and constitutional order. Arms ownership shall exist for defense and protection and shall not be used for aggression or unlawful control. Right? So again, we don't want a lawless society. Right? So this is always in defensive measures, never offensive. Unless, of course, we have some kind of invasion or some kind of overthrow going on. Right? Right of self-defense. Every person has the right to defend themselves, other persons, and property under lawful possession. Defensive force shall be necessary, proportionate to the threat faced, and use of force beyond necessity is unlawful, right? So that's like, we have today, if you and somebody argue, that is not a reason to pull out your firearm and cause a problem. But if you have a threat coming at you, somebody a run come with a machete for chop you, somebody pull out for them own, and you have to defend yourself. Or if you see somebody getting abused, you have the right to protect others and protect yourself. Right? Right to possess arms. Lawful persons may possess arms for self-defense, sporting use, defense of community, and national defense readiness. Ownership shall require training certification, safety qualification, and public registration of the weapon. Now, somebody asked the question of why do we even want to keep registration of firearms, right? And the point is this. The first thing is that we don't want any and everybody to be armed. An example of that would be someone who is mentally challenged, right? You have to be able to pass the training and the safety before you want to put weapons in somebody's hand or allow them to access weapons. So you still need the safety portion around it, but the general training and qualifications is basic. It is something that is there to protect everyone, to know that everybody have a competent understanding of what they're doing. So if we have a registration system, it makes sense that we keep track of who, not necessarily who we know, but in case of anything, we know that this individual has a registered firearm, right? They went through the training, they have the safety credentials, so they know exactly that they should be exercising caution and only using it defensively, right? But if you just allow everybody and anybody to get a weapon now, now when you have chaos, you cannot punish people for that. That is carelessness. So this is not a deterrent to stop people from getting anything. It is just to keep track of who has the weapon. So that way, in case we have a situation, right, we know who to prohibit a weapon from and why. This is why we have a national record system. So if someone is not allowed to get a firearm for whatever reason, it has to be documented. It has to be something that we can look back and say, okay, well, this makes sense or this not make sense, right? If it goes to court, the court can say, okay, well, this makes sense or this not make sense based on the evidence. Where, there has to be a record, and we have to be able to also control the safety measures as it relates to, allowing certain types of people to own firearms. And also, on top of that, when we talk about safety, you have to learn that you can't just put on a firearm anywhere. It has to be stored properly. What if we have children, and the last thing we want to come home and see is a terrible situation. So we always want to store our items properly, especially weapons, right? National Arms Registry. A National Arms Registry shall exist. The registry shall record owner identity, weapon type, serial identification, and certification status. Right? Registry records shall remain secure and be reviewable only under lawful process. So even though the records are there, unless there is a legal reason for anyone to access it, these are typically restricted records, right? So if you have some kind of legal issue where that comes up, that is under a lawful process, or if you need it for some specific purpose, the owner of the record would have access to this. Training requirement. No person shall possess arms without completion of safety instruction, lawful use training, and constitutional responsibility instruction. Again, it's for defense. The whole point of it is preparing to defend yourself if it comes down to it. Gone are the days when we just use hand and foot, or stone and machete, right? So when we have these advanced weapons, we have to be responsible, right? You can make it that them pass action can make them get denied for a weapon. You see, that is something that we would have to be very careful about, right? So if we set precedents or we set certain kinds of restrictions, we have to make sure that it is very specific. So for example, if someone was a violent criminal in the past, then that might be a precursor to say, no, you are not allowed, to have a firearm, right? Yes, people can change, but the likelihood of someone's complete mental philosophy changing after they have been a dangerous and an aggressive criminal, it is very small. So yeah, we can set certain restrictions there to say if you were involved in a serious criminal offense, then your eligibility is gone. You no longer have that option of retaining or gaining or obtaining a firearm. So I can write that down. Restriction. Yeah. So certification shall be reviewed periodically. All right. Just like you want people to be up to date with their knowledge, their training. So every 5 year or every 3 to 5 year, you want to renew training. So that way we know that people will not forget, because it's not something you use every day. It's not like you jump in a car and you go down the road, right? A firearm is scarcely used. So we want to keep you up to date with what is going on. Safe storage. Arms shall be stored securely when not in use. Failure to secure arms resulting in harm or unlawful access constitute a violation of law. So, you see something like this now. If we're going to have national safety training, the firearm itself should come with a storage case, right? You know, in the States, you have that option. You buy it with the case. You know, that shouldn't be an option. It shouldn't be an exception. It shouldn't be an add-on. It should be mandatory. So that way, we know for sure, say, if you purchase a firearm of whatever caliber, you have the safety equipment to keep it stored securely, right? So that way, we cannot punish someone for not having safety equipment because either they couldn't afford it or they didn't get it at the time they purchased, etc. You get it with the case. So you can lock it, you can padlock it, you can do whatever it may be, right? To keep your weapon safe. Prohibited conduct. No person shall use arms offensively without lawful basis. Threaten others unlawfully. Possess arms while committing crime. Transfer arms unlawfully. Right? And again, this is mostly common sense, but it has to be written down. Everybody have to know what the rules are. Right? And this, again, goes for everybody. It's a general protection for everybody. Such acts constitute serious violations. Restriction based on proven danger. Arms possession may be restricted only where a court determines the person possesses proven danger to others and the determination is based on evidence. Right? Restriction shall be limited in scope and be reviewable. Arbitrary confiscation is prohibited. And in here, we're going to also add a section or number 4 that specifically relates to if you have a mental issue or if you have previously been convicted of a serious criminal offense, then you would not be eligible to gain or continue to have access to a firearm. All right? Community protection. Communities may organize lawful defense and emergency response groups. Such groups shall remain civil in nature and operate under this Constitution. No private force shall replace lawful government, exercise policing authority, or conduct unlawful enforcement. Right? So even though you might have your community watch, your community program, etc., that is just for your little area, you know, just for civil defense. That does not authorize anybody to start, you know, having them own little police force. All right? Limitation on state power. No authority shall disarm the population except through lawful judicial determination against specific persons. Collective or indiscriminate disarmament is prohibited. Right? So it has to be related to a specific individual if we're going to have a court restrict someone's ability or their continued acquisition of their weapon. Accountability. Any unlawful use of arms shall result in criminal liability and civil liability where harm occurs. Public officials violating this article shall face enhanced penalties. So we can't have arbitrary somebody just make a false report or somebody working in concert with somebody else and that end up causing you to lose your access to a firearm, right? If a public official is involved in any kind of unlawful confiscation or any unlawful use of a firearm, then they face a more severe penalty than the regular population. Because obviously you are in a position of enhanced power. So therefore you have enhanced penalties as a public official. Self-defense and arms ownership in Jamaica shall ensure protection of life, defense against unlawful force, and responsible ownership, accountability, and preservation of constitutional liberty. Right? Again, if we, I think you want to come up. If we have a nation that is armed, we don't have to worry about criminality as much. Right? Pinky, what's up? All right, look like Pinky not ready for it yet. So, if we have a nation where everybody know how to use them firearm, everybody is able to defend themselves if it come down to it. Everybody has access to the one body of law, right? No million documents in multiple places for you to search and find. This single document would serve as the single body of law, right? And that way, once everybody have access to the law, they should know what the law is or what the law entails, especially in an area of interest, right? And if we have a body of law such as this, where it is taught in schools, right? And the children start learning the law from early, then once they start growing up and becoming the next generation in the country, then we don't have to worry about their safety. We don't have to worry about them being a victim. We don't have to worry about them not knowing the law. We don't have to worry about them suffering because we have put too much responsibility on government, right? When we put in these measures in place to ensure that our children and our children's future is secure, one of the things that we place in this constitution is we place limitation and restrictions on what can be done with the law. For example, you cannot remove anything from the constitution. That is the first thing. You cannot rewrite it. You cannot remove anything from it. The only thing that can be done is you can add to the constitution where necessary. And that is a major thing, a major problem around the world, where you have good government starting out. And then, because you don't have limitations on the constitution, because you don't let the constitution be the sole body of law, then later on, you have very clever people come around and either they start creating alternate bodies of law, or they modify the constitution to now become an arbitrary body of law where the legislature is now creating law instead of the people, right? So we cannot allow a legislative body or the few to make laws. Once the law is set, it should not be changed. You can only add to it, because when you make a system of law, you are making it comprehensive enough so that it is sufficient. So if it is not sufficient, it is not because it needs to be overhauled. You need a body of law that would stand up on its own four legs, like a table or a chair. So if you're going to add something to it, you already have a strong foundation, so you should not be rewriting or changing the constitution. Now, the other principle in constitutional drafting that is effective is we create a constitution that is not only stable on its own, but it relies on the people. Because without the people, you don't have a country. Without the people, you don't have a nation. And without the people, you don't have a standing government. This is why you vote every 4 or every 5 years, depending on the country. The voting is what allows the government to continue or to be resurrected. So that means that all the power that is being exercised is being drawn from the people. So if that is the case, then that means that the people should always be the ones signing off on anything important in the country. Right? The government is simply there as management, you know. The government doesn't have any power on its own. So if we are going to have any modification or addition to our constitution, it cannot be by a government, because the government is temporary. If the government is temporary, how can they make lasting changes? When them gone sit down after they finish office and they are enjoying their life, or they got gone on to some other field, what happens to the people who it affects throughout their entire lifetime? Right? So we have to limit how the constitution can be amended as far as additions are concerned. Right? We do not want anything eliminated from it. It starts out good. The only thing you can do is build on it. That's it. Unless the people themselves decide that they want to change or they want to create a completely different constitution, then the people come together and create it. But other than that, the constitution has to create its own safeguards. The next thing that a strong constitution have is penalties, right? If we don't have penalties, what happens is now we are at the mercy of our courts. And that is what is happening today. Because our laws do not impose penalties, then the courts are sitting there making judgments and casting down penalties on people without any guidance from the law. They have what's called complete discretion in many matters. Right? So that also has to be eliminated. We cannot have judicial discretion when it comes to people's lives. It has to be based on facts and evidence. So if we have facts and evidence that are determining all matters within society, that is what you would now call a fair system of justice. Because now you know exactly what to expect. If you don't know how something can be determined, right? It is now based on how somebody perceives something or how they feel about it. Then that means that it is a moving goalpost. You can't win. If you have a moving goalpost with the law, right? You go into court and you don't know what process they're going to be using. You don't know what language you're going to be using. You don't know anything. You're just going in there blindsided, especially if you don't have an attorney, right? You have to be very crafty if you don't have an attorney. So, you know, judicial discretion is something that would be eliminated, right? We would eliminate things like that so that it would only be based on the law, the facts, and the evidence of the case. That's it. No more discretion about, you know, well, it never say you're not supposed to do this, or it never say you can't do this, so this can't. No. Everything is standard based. Everything is written down. So if it is not written, you can't consider it. Plain and simple. Right? The other problem we have is this. No instruction manual for nothing. No process manual, no step-by-step instructions. So if you are not learned, you can't know what is happening. You are literally stuck. Nothing at all. So many of these agencies, if you go inside, you literally have to wait in line to find out what to do next. Right? Simple information that they can just post up on the door, post up in front of a window, post up in front of somewhere. You are standing in line waiting to ask a simple question that you should not even have to ask. Ridiculous. Sometimes you go and you waste 2 hours just to ask one question and go back to your yard. because it doesn't apply to you, or you can't do nothing right there and then. It doesn't make sense. So these are some of the issues that are corrected and fixed in the Constitution, so that when we move forward and we say, listen, we're going to have a better healthcare system, right? We need to have process and procedure so that you're not supposed to go to the hospital and ask, who can I talk to? I have this problem. You're supposed to have an information sheet in front of every institution. Once you walk in, you're not supposed to have to go on nobody's desk and ask them simple questions. You're supposed to have one big long information sheet. So any little simple question, a matter of fact, even if you say, okay, you can't predict what people are going to ask, fine. You use 1 year or 6 months and you start write down all the questions that people come in and ask. And once that is recorded, you simply make a frequently asked question board. So people can just come and then can just read. Very simple. So I feel like some of these places, they just want to appear to be busy. They want to appear to be so important that you have to schedule appointments, you have to do this, you have to put this off. And for what? For what reason? We don't have to. People, we are in the day and age of computer, right? We literally don't even need paper anymore. We don't need, best believe, we don't even need paper anymore. Everything can be digital. We don't even need a grid. We don't need a grid. But hey, we are not there right now. We are still, we're still battling it through. We're in an age right now where we are not only funding the institutions that are charging us and taxing us, but we are paying for the services that we built. We are literally paying for the services and the institutions that are built on our labor. When the hospitals are being built, where do you think the money comes from? Exactly, we are funding our own operation. When the hospitals are being built, where is the funds coming from? When they decide to get drills for how much in $1 million, where is the money coming from? When the doctors are supposed to be paid, where is the money coming from? Think about anything around us in society. Every single public service that we have, most of it is charging us, and we are the ones who sweat and work and ball and still pay. That is what they are using to build all of these institutions. And when it done build, look at all the highway. When the highway done build, we still pay for. We still paying out of our nose. How does it make sense? If we are the ones who are telling government, yes, the government is supposed to be managing the country, they're supposed to be managing our affairs, they are supposed to be looking out for our best interest, they're supposed to be investing on our behalf, they're supposed to be making sure that the country is safe, and they're supposed to be ensuring that nobody is taking advantage of us. Right? But yet still, when we take a look at everything around us, where can we see the benefit? Now, there are some people who will say, well, you see them build the highway, how much money them put in the highway, you see how them are try improve the systems, you know, them have online for certain things like tax office and things like that and whatever. You see, when you don't have nothing and somebody give you little crumbs, you feel like it is the world. You feel like it is amazing. Wow, Look at what just happened, right? Because before, either you have garbage or you had nothing. So now you feel like the little bit where you get, it is amazing. Look at what they are doing. This is great. But yet still you don't know that it is your own money that is being used. Ah la la. Exactly. The birds are flying and the fish are swimming. Yeah, it is like we are supposed to be praising people that, you know, it is they are not doing anything outside of their control. They are not doing anything outside of their capability. They are not going above and beyond to do anything. Remember, you know, the government itself cannot do anything. All it's doing is managing. So when the road is being fixed, it is contractors that is coming and doing the work. When the hospitals are being built, it is contractors coming in and, you know, the government is not necessarily doing anything. They are coordinating and they are supposed to be making sure that we are being treated fairly. But the question is, what are we calling fair? What are we calling being treated good or treated fairly? We have never seen the consolidated fund. We don't know how much money we have. We have never seen any of the procurement contracts. If any of you have ever seen any of those, then feel free to share any of them, right? We have never seen any of the bidding contracts. We have never seen any of the procurement requirements. We have never been in any of those in the know processes or documentation of anything. The only thing we hear about is we have a report, we have this report, we have that report, we have this statistic, we have that statistic, we have this average, we have this expense, we have this contract that we need to pay, we have this entity that owes us $3 billion. The public funds are now going to have to pay the SSL workers, right? Again, because we don't even know the power of togetherness, because within our society, anytime we have any kind of group thinking, right, there is always some kind of distraction. Anytime there is a forward movement, there is always a counter action to those movements. So it comes down to the fact that even when you have agencies out there, right, that will go out and have a protest, and then you have the security forces coming out as well saying that they are countering that protest. They want to ensure that people know that they are there to protect the public and to maintain integrity and to keep the peace and to maintain justice, right? When you have these countermeasures to anything that is supposed to be highlighting that the public is not comfortable with how the country is being run, it is undermined. It is severely undermined. And even when we have it in our faces, it comes on the news, it comes in parliament, it comes in the courts, it comes in the newspapers, it comes in every direction. And when people call it out, you are ridiculed. Will the NARA bill affect our constitutional draft in any way? No, it will not. So, when we talk about maintaining a society, when we talk about building an actual foundation for a nation, right now, if we were to continue down the same path of saying, well, we're gonna wait, because a lot of people, what they say is, just wait until the time comes and we can vote, right? We vote out the government. Or just wait until this, wait until, for what? People don't realize how nonsensical it sounds, because again, you are talking from a certain level of intellect. You're talking from a certain position. When you look at it, are you saying that if people are suffering now, they should suffer for the next 4 years, and when voting time comes, then you vote in a different government if that is a possibility or a chance, and then you can complain at that time? You see how it don't make no sense? If we cannot rely upon the institutions of government, whether it be parliament, whether it be the courts, or whether it be the police, if we are not able to rely on them, right, to allow for transparency, fairness, and justice, then what is it exactly we should be expecting from our government? You see, it is not the people who are not affected, The people who are not affected, they don't really care. You go about your daily business, you get your stuff done, you have everything you need, you don't have any problem. So you don't really care about what is going on. But for those who are affected, whether it be daily, weekly, or monthly, for those who are affected, right, are we saying that those people should just sit down and take it? They should just wait. They should stop complaining, because once the government, whichever party goes into power, they are going to be doing things for the best interest of everyone. Is that really the hope? Should we really believe something like that? Again, this is not a political page. When we talk about our society and what we as a people really want, when was the last time the government come around and say, people, tell us what you want your government to do for you? What it is, or what is it that you think the government should be focusing on? What is it do you think we should be doing better with? What should we make laws for? When was the last time we hear government do that? When was the last time we got a chance to even read any of the drafts they are putting together before it becomes law? A lot of things that I bring to my platform, I have seen them making certain changes, right? We have seen certain changes that were made since I started to uncover many of the things that are there, right? But we cannot just sit idly by and just keep watching and be helpless. So when we put together, just like how we just had a suggestion, right, to restrict firearm acquisition and retention, right? The same way how you make suggestions on the live, the same way you submit your suggestion to say, hey, make we include this, make we include that, formulate this inside of the draft. This has never happened before, right? We have never been a part of no part of Jamaica. We're just born in it. We come and we go through it, and some of us pass along the same way. We don't get to have a say in our own Jamaica. None. The little say where people think they might have is to go and vote. We don't have no input in our government. We don't have no input in our laws. We don't have no input in our court rules. We don't have no input in our economical regulation. We have no input in our strife. We have no input in what we think Jamaica could use to get better. Wayne, Lawful, welcome. We have no opportunity for input to make our country better. But you know, it does make sense, you know. It makes sense. It makes sense if we thought it was our country, but we are delusional. You know, all this time we might be thinking, well, I feel with Jamaica, I feel with Ireland, we make up the country, and we put the government in power, and we. We are all this time thinking this way, and we might be the delusional ones. We might be the ones who are there thinking that we are making a difference. We are doing this, and we are making our voice heard, and we are petitioning our government, and it is our country. We might be thinking that, but what evidence do we have of that? What evidence do we have to show that we have any power or any kind of participation in our system of governance or our country? Other than voting, what can we actually take part in or do that would affect our nation? And don't tell me about the marching. What exactly we as Jamaicans can actually do today that actually can make a difference in our country? Where can we exert our power and it would actually change the fabric of what is going on in Jamaica, other than the constitutional draft? It's an entire government reform. And how could we do that? You see, remember, you know, we are not a collective. We are so divided and segmented that it is so easy to manipulate the different interests of the people. We are so segmented from each other. You know, we have people in society that have radical thoughts, you know. They feel that they are right and everybody else is wrong. I saw a video the other day of a lady. She have a mango tree that is stretching over her yard from her neighbor's property. And the mangoes on the tree are young and green. None of them no full, none of them no ripe. And the lady walk and she start pick off the green mango them and I drop them on the ground. I pick off the one them with on her side of the property and she say, it's my property. She don't even know so she can't own land. She walk and she pick them off and she say, it's my property. And, you know, sometimes you have to really just look and you just have to just not say anything because people don't realize when they are cutting off their own foot. Imagine you have free mango come over your yard and you think you are spiting someone by picking off the green mango them with on your side. You know, granted, you might not like your neighbor. right? Not everybody is going to get along. But you have a mango tree that is growing from the ground, free of cost. It have East Indian mango grow up on the tree. And you, because you don't like your neighbor, the good thing is she not go over the neighbor side, go do anything. She stay up on fear side and she pick off the mango them on fear side and drop them on ground. So those mango will never ripe. And you have to wonder if some of these people are thinking, because there is no, I can't see any benefit to that. And it's the same way some people think in regular society. Some people will look at somebody and say, you know, so I don't like that somebody there, my spirit not take them, right? And you have a right to that, right? You have a right to feel how you feel. But you never converse with the person. You don't know what the person is like, but you just get up so and you bad mind them. And that is a part of a divided nation, when you don't have communities anymore. When we don't have communities, we have a problem with mentality. When we don't have any form of connection where people have an outlet where they can communicate effectively and properly, and they can join forces to do some kind of common good. My grandmother used to say, the devil find work for idle hands. When time I a little boy, my grandmother used to say that. The devil find work for idle hands, and say a whooping I come after that, because say you do something with agitate her. But it is true. You see, when you have people who are too idle, either them not have nothing to do, or them not have no connection, they don't have no responsibility, or them just feel like their life is against them, then become bad mind. Then just start look upon people and don't like them, because they don't have any, them purpose gone. Them not feel like them have no drive anymore. They want something to take up their time, and the only thing left for them do is start cause problem. And there are many countermeasures in this draft that will allow us as a society to get rid of some of those bad mind tendencies that people have. Right? Sometimes we have our elderly, and trust me, it breaks my heart to see sometimes you have people become elderly and they have no outlet. They have no one there to communicate with. They have nowhere to go. They are living in terrible conditions. When we can simply create a community for them, we can do knowledge transfer that is in this draft. See, we have Article 39. That is at page 250. Let me show you. Page 250. Elder care and social support. I'm going to start report the live. We have elder care. This article establishes a national system to provide care and stability for older persons, preserve knowledge and experience for future generations, ensure dignity, security, and continued contribution to society. A lot of these people, when they finish teaching, they finish their trade, they're finished doing what they used to do in life to make a living. There is no knowledge transfer. Who remember when Andrew tricked people that he will give them each a handbook with the Constitution? Jaja. Eligibility. A person shall be eligible for elder care program upon reaching 50. Right? You see, before, like right now, right? Even when you reach the age of retirement. Exactly. um, even in today's society, when someone reach so-called retirement age, right? They are barely making a living, they are barely surviving, and they can barely live off of that so-called income. And not only that, right? When you reach a certain age, you don't find the same things to be fruitful or enjoyable, right? You want to be around your peers, you want to be around people your age or your age group. And if you are going to be that old where you cannot enjoy anything else in society, what is the point? It's almost like, them people then become dry up tree, right? We have to have a system where we archive our knowledge, we transfer the knowledge, we build on the knowledge as a foundation. You know how much expertise there, Jamaica? You know how much expertise is in Jamaica? Not because it not depends on social media, Not because you don't see it on social media. There are a lot of people with expertise in Jamaica. Unmatched. Unmatched expertise. And we attack world-class expertise. We might not be an expert in everything, But you see, if we have access to the field, best believe we're going to excel. We're going to run past everybody. I don't ask me, I ask people. So, a person shall be eligible for elder care program upon reaching 50 years of age or meeting conditions of age-related incapacity defined by law. Eligibility shall not be denied based on prior income, status, or employment history. Establishment of the elder care program. A national elder care program is established. The program shall provide community-based housing, right? You keep everybody in the same category in one community, right? Every parish is supposed to have one. Access to health care. You see, when we talk about building a nation, we have to think about healthcare as well, right? Today, healthcare is a business. It is not a public institution designed to help the nation. Healthcare is now a business. Imagine that. How can we heal and be a righteous nation? A nation where we can say, yeah, we are look out for each other. We are look out for the best for each other. We are look towards a full life. We are raising our children to be good stewards of what we're going to leave behind. If we are turn everything in our business, the food will become a business. We them try mass produce as much as possible to make a profit. Healthcare, the same thing. Housing, the same thing. Everything are turned into an industry for commercial profit. So now, there is no farmer outlook for actually make the thing better. It is actually just for profit now. Anyways. Access to healthcare. So all of the elderly will have access to healthcare. Provisions of food and essential services, right? So you get housing, you get healthcare, you get food and essential services, and a monthly financial stipend, right? Can't talk about that one still. Yeah, so then get a monthly financial stipend. All benefits shall be funded through the public revenue approved by the people. And this is just like many of the other provisions that we have within this constitutional draft. The people are the ones who are authorizing these things. The people are the ones who are putting these in place. The people are the ones who are making this law. So when we have these programs and we have these initiatives as a nation, remember, once we build the community housing, we take a year to build that. It is done. It is now forever. All we do is maintain it. Once we publicize healthcare and stop privatize it, if we simply pay the people them, we employ the doctors and the nurses, and they are simply employed. We get rid of insurance, right? We get rid of insurance. We simply employ people who are trained, who are certified in both holistic and traditional medicine, right? And we just hire them. When somebody gets sick, then go and then get care. That's simple. Jamaica citizenship policy gonna need to review. Right? The same thing when we talk about housing, right? You get to the age, those people are all there, trust me. When you get to the age, you have the ability, if you would like to, you join the community, right? Right. People who actually want to be at work to take care of people. Yeah, that is in the healthcare section, right? We're going to review that as well. Community-based living. Elder care housing shall be community-centered, safe and accessible, designed to support independence and dignity, right? Participation in community housing shall be voluntary. Again, if you have your house and your car and your little thing them and whatever, and you don't want to live in the community housing, that does not stop you from being a part of the community, right? The housing is optional. All of these things are still optional. But if you need it, you simply show up. Listen, if somebody has provided over 35 years of service to a country, 35 years out of your life, you have earned your keep. We should not be telling people, say, well, if you can't afford it, then we don't know what to tell you. We should not be shutting out the people who helped to build our nation, an entire generation. It is not fair. Healthcare access. All eligible persons shall receive healthcare access sufficient to maintain health, treat illnesses, and support aging-related conditions. Denial of care based on financial status is prohibited. Right? Once you reach 50, you have access to healthcare. You don't have to worry about that. Right? Monthly stipend. Eligible persons shall receive a monthly stipend. The stipend shall provide basic financial stability. Be defined and approved by the people. The stipend shall not be reduced except by lawful enactment. Right? And again, the reason you don't want to specifically state this right now, because we don't know, first of all, we don't even know what the currency is going to be like in the future. Right? So we don't want to say somebody I get $15,000 a month and then, in 10, 15 years time, one bread costs $1,500. You see? So stuff like these, it would be on a running basis where the people would approve, what the financial stipend would be. Participation while working. An eligible person may continue employment while participating in the program. Where an eligible person receives program benefits and earns income, 50% of earned income shall be contributed to the elder care program. Right? So some people them just can't sit down. Some people still want to work, but they want to be a part of their community. You still have the option of doing that. Right? Because even if you're paying 50% of your earned income, right, that is still going to bring you way over anything that you need for living expenses. Because again, remember, housing is covered, food is covered, healthcare is covered, shelter is covered. So even if you are working and let's say I make 60,000 a month, 80,000 a month, right? By the time, let's say, you're paying 50%, you still have 40 grand a month that you can save where you don't have to use, right? And if you don't want that deal, obviously, you don't have to participate, right? This contribution shall be applied uniformly, support current and future beneficiaries. No additional penalty or restriction shall apply, right? Voluntary participation. Participation in the elder care program shall be voluntary. A person who does not participate shall retain full control of their earnings, shall not receive program benefits, right? So again, if you don't want to participate, that's fine. But you can't expect to receive benefits if you don't participate in the program or you don't want any benefits, all right? Knowledge transfer program. A national knowledge transfer program is established. Participation shall be voluntary. Again, we don't force nobody to do anything. If you don't want to teach nobody what you learn, you have that option, right? But if you want to pass on your knowledge, you want to show the younger generation and teach and pass on your knowledge in the national record system, then you can voluntarily do so. Participants may document skills, record experience, and provide instruction or mentorship. Contributions shall be preserved in the National Archive. Right? We currently don't have that. And if we do, it is privatized. That is the sad part about it. If we have knowledge being recorded currently, it is privatized. We don't have access to it. As a matter of fact, what do we have access to? That is the next question. What exactly do we as a people have access to? Anyways, knowledge archive. A national archive shall be maintained to store recorded knowledge, preserve expertise across fields, provide public access for learning. The archive shall be organized, publicly accessible, and protected from alteration or loss. Right? So if we create a knowledge archive where we can build our expertise from, we can build on top of it, we can use it to create, classes, we can use it to create other things that can benefit us within society. This should have been implemented a long time ago. Protection from exploitation. No person shall exploit older persons for labor, deny access to entitled benefits, or misuse program resources. Violations shall result in legal accountability. Administration and transparency. The elder care program shall be publicly administered, fully recorded, and subject to oversight. All funding, distribution, and participation records shall be publicly accessible. Right? It is nothing secret. Equality of access. All eligible persons shall receive equal access to program benefits. No discrimination shall occur based on prior occupation, income history, or social status. Limitations of authority. No authority shall reduce benefits without lawful amendment. or impose additional conditions beyond this article. You know, because sometimes we have agencies, them come and tell us, say, you have to fill out this form, you have to submit this, you have to meet this criteria, you have to do this, you have to jump through hoops, you have to dig up your dead granny and come back again. This is why we always put a clause in there that limit any action to the Constitution. If the Constitution doesn't say it, you can't do it. It's that simple. Any such action is void. So you can't come up with organization policy and I tell people, say, them have to do this extra and them have to do that extra. That is a void action. Right? The elder care system shall ensure dignity in aging, economic stability, preservation of knowledge, and support present and future generations. Right? And that is how we build national integrity and actually have a system that can support our future generations. How can we say we are a nation and we are growing, but yet still we not learn from what we start with? We don't have nothing where we are built from. Now, let us take a look at healthcare. Healthcare system. 175, right? 175. It's actually 173. The healthcare system shall protect life, public health, and access to essential care. Does zoom in some? Hold on. Probably better if we do that so we can all see it. All right. Healthcare shall operate for the benefit of all people. Right to healthcare. Every person has the right to access basic healthcare services in a reasonable time on the same day once request on arrival. Again, we talk about the stories where people go to hospital and sit down there and wait. Sit down and wait. Nobody no want to talk to them. Nobody no want to give them no information. Nobody wants to do anything. Come like you have to grease them palm to get an answer about anything. No person shall be denied essential care due to inability to pay. Right? We have to eliminate this paying thing when it comes to health and life. Don't make no sense. We can't make a profit off of people's demise. I mean, think about it. If we are making it a business, right, to live off of people's pain, what kind of conscience can we really have? And not only that, not only making healthcare in a business that it currently is. You're not even getting the care even if you are paying for it. Sometimes you never get painkiller. Sometimes they tell us, say, the doctor gone for the day. Listen, me hear some stories, see? Pain my heart. Nah, lie you. It pain my heart to hear some things where some people go through. Some people in an excruciating pain. Like they literally can't even drink water or eat nothing. To how them a go through some pain. And then go some place and them sit down and them wait and then tell them, say, well, you have to come back tomorrow, you have to come back next week. We don't have anyone here to be able to help you right now. Or you have to go to a different location, then we try to give you one letter for carry. Man, listen, them something they are cruelty. Cruelty. Anyways, structure of healthcare system. Healthcare system shall include public hospital, local clinics, emergency medical services, preventative care programs. So these are basic. Me hear Finsaka talk about the ambulance them the other day. Or earlier today. And them a talk about how the ambulances, they don't have nothing in there. Only thing them I use are the siren. No drip, no first aid kit, no medical supplies, nothing at all. Probably just one bed in there. You lay down until they carry you to a hospital or carry you go somewhere. And that's it. Them drop you off, you find your way. And it's like, you have to wonder, again, I am just talking about what is being reported. Me don't know, me don't have that experience, right? But if you just have one siren for run through traffic, yes, it's a benefit, but come on now. Come on. When we say emergency medical services, we really have to expand that for 2 years, right? And again, you see, when we, the people, involved in some of these decision making, then we can put together what problems we have and we can include them, right? This is an area of law where I think it is going to be evolving over time. When we say, all right, we don't have enough this, we don't have enough that, so let us put this amendment in there to say we need a minimum for each hospital. We should have a minimum of 3 or a minimum of 5 emergency ambulances, right? So that way, we don't have to rely upon 1 or 2 and I say, boy, oh, you know, it is currently out, we have to wait until they come back or whatever. The ambulance is supposed to equip properly. First aid kit. Obviously, they need to have a bed. They need to have proper personnel. You know, we hear about all the problem them where people who are supposed to be certified, right? Them now give them the certificate, because if they give them the certificate, then they have to pay them, you know, as a certified individual. Yo, some of them something you have to really wonder. Oh, who come up with these ideas to oppress some of these people, right? Because if you go through the program already and you're supposed to get your certificate or your credentials, and them are going to hold you back because they don't want to pay you that amount. They want you work for a certain amount of years before them actually give your credentials. And then after that, you might have to go try find work elsewhere. Jaja. You know, it just don't make no sense, you know, people. But if you talk about profits, I guess it makes sense. You minimize your expenses. Right? It is contrary to ethics, but I guess it makes sense to somebody. So yeah, we're going to put in a minimum amount of emergency vehicles here, right? In this section. Public health services. Public healthcare services. Public healthcare shall be funded through public revenue. Services must be accessible, functional, and maintained. Right? And one of the things that we talk about is maintaining the hospitals. Again, if we the people have our hand in this, we wouldn't live in a condition here. Sometimes you walk in some of these places and just the smell. Me hear pregnant women talk about it before. Say, them will go to a hospital and because of the smell, them want to come out. They don't want to go in there. They rather pay the money and find somewhere else go. I personally seen a situation where they will not allow more than 1 or 2 people into the room with the mother or the child. I mean, I say, yeah, me don't know. There are no rules. Them just tell you what is them policy. Them restrict you from access to even your own family member. Again, it's just this big clouded thing where you have to constantly deal with some of these institutions. And it is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. There is no way you have a family member. Imagine you have your mother, you may have your sister and your baby father come with you. So you can go have a child. And them are going to tell you, say, only one somebody can go in there. And then lock them out. And lock them out. Jano. Alright. Private healthcare. Private healthcare providers may operate. Alright, so obviously, if someone wants to maintain a business as a private institution, right? Nobody now stop them from doing that. But here is the catch. They must meet national standards. So you see, if the hospital get clean 3 times a day, you have to meet that standard. They also must operate transparently. So all the rules and procedures, it has to be publicly posted or publicly accessible. We can't have... I mean, what can you hide in a hospital system? Come on. If you're a healthcare provider, what can you possibly... I mean, apart from your financials, what can you possibly be hiding? Anyways. So, if a company or an organization want to start a healthcare provider program, they are free to do so. They just have to operate at national standards or higher. All right? So when we talk about even maintenance of the healthcare system, we need to have a system that is clean, a system that has necessary supplies, a system that is sanitized, a system that when people go in there, let us talk about it. Standards of care. Healthcare providers must maintain safety, cleanliness, and professional competence. Harm caused by negligence shall be subject to law. Emergency care. Emergency medical care must be provided without delay. No person in urgent need shall be refused treatment. Healthcare protection. The state shall act to prevent disease, contamination, and public health threats. Measures must be lawful, necessary, and proportionate. Disease response. In case of widespread disease, the state may coordinate response, provide treatment, and issue health guidance. Actions must be publicly disclosed, time limited. Medical records. Medical records must be accurate, secure, and confidential. Access shall be limited to lawful purposes. Health workforce. Healthcare professionals must be trained and qualified. Standards of training shall be maintained nationally. So you're not going to have one hospital good and the other one them crappy. Right? You have to have a single standard of care. Availability of medicine. Essential medicines shall be available and regulated. Unsafe or harmful substances shall be prohibited. Public health information. The public shall have access to accurate health information. Information must not be misleading or concealed. Accountability. Healthcare providers and institutions are accountable for their actions. Violations shall be subject to investigation and legal process. All right? So here, again, in the standard of care, right? I'm going to make a note here to update this. It's 179, standard of care. Right? So this way, we can have a positive mental attitude for the workers. Because if we don't have positive people working in healthcare, right, it is going to make things worse for people who are coming in. Imagine you in pain and somebody give you attitude. That can't make sense. Imagine you are in dire need of care and somebody tell you say, you have to talk louder and hurry up. Make them write down your name. Or then start treat you a certain way, knowing that you're vulnerable. Right? This is why this is why we're also going to have cameras in healthcare systems. Right? So when somebody come in from any direction through any entrance, it is going to be documented. It's going to be documented. Because if somebody complain and it can be corroborated with video evidence, you are going to face legal consequences. It's not a if. It's not a if. Because beyond this, what else we have down here, sir? Okay. Beyond this, we have an independent investigatory body. What did we call that section? We have healthcare labor, IP, There is an independent body. National defense, intelligence, information, security limits, international trade, national development, record keeping, public surveillance, housing, religion, rights, final provision, criminal code, immigration, land, public finance, anti-corruption and accountability, public accountability. Let's see, 167. This must be up here, so. Anti-corruption. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Anti-corruption and public accountability. All right. Independent Anti-Corruption Authority. An independent body known as the Public Integrity Authority, the PIA, shall be established. The PIA shall operate independently of all branches of government. The powers of the PIA. The PIA may investigate public officials and institutions, review financial records, subpoena documents and testimony, refer matters for prosecution. All actions must be recorded and publicly reported. Mandatory disclosure. All public officials must declare assets, income, interests. Declarations must be recorded and publicly accessible. Prohibited conduct. The following acts are prohibited: corruption, bribery, misuse of public funds, abuse of authority, concealment of public records. So this is an independent body. This is almost like a separate civilian authority that has the power to go into anywhere and conduct an investigation, right? So if we have a complaint about any institution or any entity, this authority has the power to go in and they can go dig up records, they can go do interview, they can get copies of records, they can look at the surveillance, they can do everything necessary to ensure that any kind of report that they receive is substantiated, and then they refer it to the state prosecution agency, right? So make a note of that. So if we have misuse of power, misuse of authority, abuse of power, if we have corruption, if we have anything that is being reported right? We also have the national reporting system where if you have a complaint, if any citizen have a complaint, they can simply file a complaint and it is publicly lodged, right? So we don't have an agency so-called taking reports and we don't know how many reports are being lodged. We don't know how many reports against specific agencies. We don't know. We don't have any raw data. That is what we need to eliminate. That is how we will truly know how many complaints are being lodged, what is being done, how many are prosecuted, etc., etc., etc. If we don't have access to the actual data, how can we do anything? How can we make any assessment? So this is why we need a public record system. We cannot keep relying upon the word of an institution. Oh, we have this many reports. Oh, we have this many prosecutions. Oh, we are waiting for this, we're waiting for that. If you are an investigatory agency, you have the power to go in and get everything what you need. If you don't have enough evidence or it doesn't amount to anything because it cannot be substantiated, you document it and you move on. There is absolutely no way in this day and age that we can have an investigatory agency and they are waiting for anything beyond a week or two. It might take them some time to drive across the island and to set up shop and to do whatever. But it should not be beyond a week or two. Come on. This is not like you have to drive, 6,000 miles. Jamaica is not that big. You literally can start early morning and you can reach anywhere in the island. Anywhere in the island before 3 o'clock. If you left your yard 8 o'clock from Portland Point, you can reach Negril Point by 3 o'clock. It not take you so long either. Me travel across the country before, so me know. So if you have an investigatory agency and they need to go cross country, to go investigate something, and they really should not. This is going to be a nationally coordinated effort. So you just contact the office in that location, boom, go and go do an investigation tomorrow. Tomorrow we have 5 or we have 10 reports that meets the criteria, or we have this report that is serious enough. Go and go do an investigation tomorrow. Case closed. That is how an investigatory agency should be working. It shouldn't be based on anyone authorizing this or anyone really, holding this back or pushing this forward. It's supposed to be based on merit, the seriousness of the allegations, if it is necessary right now to actually do the investigation, if you need more data, if whatever you need to get done, it's supposed to be something forward moving when you talk about investigation. You can't have roadblock in an investigation. It's either you have enough resources to move forward or you don't. Black and white. All right? So when you have an independent anti-corruption authority, them no answer to nobody, whether it be law enforcement or even the courts, they should be able to go in and investigate as they need and leave. Plain and simple. All right? So that is how an investigatory agency would work. Whistleblower protection. Any person reporting corruption shall be protected from retaliation. Reports must be received, investigated, and documented. All right? So anybody who realize corruption is happening and they report it, they are protected. Investigation process. Investigations must be evidence-based, recorded, and subject to review. Right? So even though it's an investigatory agency, it cannot prosecute. It is only gathering all the data necessary, and then it is forwarded over to an independent prosecutory agency. Again, all of these agencies are authorized specifically by the people. So if we, the people, decide that this agency, needs to be modified or it needs to be disbanded, literally the only thing we need to do as a public is just vote on it. Right? We have a complaint about the agency. We come together, we vote and say, all right, this needs reorganization. Everybody get fired. Everybody get fired. The agency start all over again. We get more competent people, we get different management, we get everything. Just literally vote on it. That is how we get rid of corruption. That is how we get rid of anything lurking in the shadows. The direct power of public vote. Right? And that goes for anything at all. From the national commanders all the way down to these investigatory agencies. So anything in the public that the public controls, voting power is paramount. Right? Any person found to have violated this article shall be subject to removal from office, criminal prosecution. No immunity applies. And this is across the board. We remove all immunity. Once you have no kind of criminal action that is going on, right? If it is not supported by law, you don't have no immunity. The only thing that protects you is you doing your lawful duty. That's it. How else can we get rid of corruption? We cannot be shielding anyone who is breaking the law. It's that simple. Public oversight. The people may review actions of the PIA. Oversight shall ensure independence, transparency, and accountability. Duty of public officials. Public officials shall act in the public interest, avoid personal gain from office, and remain accountable at all times. The public authority in Jamaica shall maintain transparency, be accountable, and free from corruption. Right? And that's why it is independent. That's why it is independent. So, there are so many safeguards and countermeasures in the constitutional draft that if one agency or one arm of the government somehow tries to weasel their way out or to try to get too big, it can easily be shut down, it can easily be intercepted, and the criminal penalties can easily be instituted once there is evidence to support the actions. Right? And we talk about the criminal penalties in the last life, right? And as we already know, for those who have been here, the criminal penalties are rather severe. Right? If we want to curb and get rid of crime, when people hear about what the penalties would be if they are convicted, I am almost certain nobody will want to engage in these kind of activities. We're going to review it before we wrap up. Right? Criminal penalties and punishment for those convicted of crimes. This article defines penalties and punishment for those who have been convicted after due process. So again, just like what we have today, or let me not even say that. I can't even say what we have today because sometimes you don't even get proper due process. But due process must be afforded. There must be evidence. There must be a trial. There must be defense. Right? So once you've gone through the due process and you are convicted, the people, if unsatisfied with the punishment imposed by the court, have veto and substitution power to institute a different punishment they see fit by public vote. So if we, the people, if there is a case where an individual committed a crime and the court say, okay, this is the punishment that is going to be passed down for this crime, and we, the people, say, that not sound fair. No, him need to get a different punishment. We, the people, have that substitution and veto power to institute a different punishment that we see fit by public vote. All right? So here are the punishments. Restricted public duty, 1 year minimum. Restricted public duty is the punishment of working on a daily basis within Jamaica without pay. This punishment is intended to restore and rebuild the nation in a productive way. The only entitlement attached to this punishment is food, prison uniform, and shelter. So we've gotten rid of the prison system. You cannot go into prison and just sit down and do foolishness. Right? Now you have to be working, you have to take part in the rebuilding of the nation. Since you want to cause problem, this is how you repay the nation for committing crimes. This is one way. So there's a 1 year minimum. Section 3, removal of private organ. The removal of private organ meant the removal of the private male or private female part. This punishment is reserved only for private part crimes. Right? So if you commit a private part crime, then your private part is going to be removed. A surgeon or qualified professional will carry out this task as humanely as possible. This punishment is also paired with restricted public duty after recovery. So not only are your private part removed, but after you recover, you still have to do restricted public duty in order to work off the punishment. Right? Removal of limb, arm, or leg. The removal of a limb is a possible punishment for violent robbery, violent assault, violent attempted unaliving, or unaliving. A surgeon or qualified professional will carry out this task as humanely as possible. This punishment is also paired with restricted public duty after recovery. So even if you have one hand or you have one leg, you still have to go out there, go get something done. You can't sit down after that and just look. Right? And forget tag. Hey, that's an idea. Tag criminals. I mean, they will already be a part of the national database, but yeah, we're going to add that. Where do I find this information? This is a constitutional draft by We the People. You can go to voiceofjamaica.com. Let me do a quick review and show you how to get there. You go to voiceofjamaica.com. If the website looks like this, you are in the right place. Once you go to voiceofjamaica.com, you scroll down and you click on New Constitution. Once you click on New Constitution, then you will have the constitutional draft right here. And there's also another document called the Declaration of Independence. You can review it as well. Right? So back to the draft. And for those who are still here, if you have a suggestion that you would like to include as a possible punishment for this section, feel free to drop it in the comments or send in a suggestion on the site. All right. Finger crushed by hammer. The punishment of finger crushed by hammer is a possible punishment for robbery or theft. So your finger fearing? Yeah. Hanging by the neck in the town square. The punishment of hanging by the neck in the town square is a punishment for convicted unalivers, serial unalivers, or anyone who takes the life of another intentionally. Lifetime servitude of restricted public duty. The punishment of lifetime servitude of restricted public duty is a punishment for convicted fraudsters, scammers, swindlers, and public officials who misuse their office. Right? So, you don't have no possibility of coming back a road. You get up, you get a breakfast, you got to work, you come in, you get a dinner, you bed, you start over tomorrow again. Alright? So, these are the 7 criminal punishments that are available. Right? No more just sit down in a jail. That's foolishness. And that way, we reduce the nation's cost of these contracting companies. We get people involved. We make people active, right? If you are active, there is no time for idle hands. So, Again, we try to cover all topics and all relevant sections of law in the draft. We are just about done with the sections. We're going to start sharpening the language. We're going to start making sure the terminology and the explanations are in plain English. All of the legalese have been removed, so everything is in plain English. All right? No more legal language. No more walking with a dictionary to find out what exactly somebody is talking about in a document. All right? And here we have the words, meanings, and interpretation. So if you see a word and you want to know what it means within the Constitution, your dictionary is right there at the very top. All right? From A to Z, you have all the words that can possibly be a problem for you to comprehend what it means. All right? So everything in one. And if we have a system like this where every single piece of lawful legislation is in one document, then we don't need legal dictionaries. We don't need external sources. We don't need any other external explanation and authority to be supplementing this document. And we don't need 50 acts of parliament. As a matter of fact, we will not have any acts of parliament if we institute a constitution like this, when we do. Right? So here we have a declaration of responsibility, principles, and authority. Right? As a nation, we have to know what our responsibilities are within society. We don't have nothing like this. Nothing like this in society. We are all just walking around like aimless ants. We don't know our expectations. We don't know what we need to do. We don't know what's supposed to be put in place to ensure that everybody is on the same page. All right? For example, when we talk about sovereignty, you've probably heard the term sovereignty before, but you don't know what it means. You've probably also heard the term in a derogatory way, right? Describing people who are doing things and trying to be free of the government in some sense, right? Because of what they feel to be oppression. The term sovereignty is something that is part of a group, part of a nation, part of a tribe, part of some collection of people. It is not individual to a person or one smaddy, as would I call it. Sovereignty is something that you come together and you say, we have this collective power as a people. It is not something we exercise by ourselves, right? It comes from the ancient practice of a group mind. That is where we gain sovereignty from. By our collective force, we now have the power to do X, Y, or Z, right? So sovereignty of the people. All power in Jamaica belongs to the people of the island. And the word people is a collective term. The word person is the singular form of people. So when we say the people, that is why it is usually connected to the term public, right? So all power in Jamaica belongs to the people of the island. Government exists only to carry out the will of the people and to protect their rights and safety. No person, office, institution, or organization may claim authority that does not explicitly come from this constitution. All right? Now that reminds me of tribal and other groups. We know there are several tribal groups and different organizations that are in Jamaica, but they are not properly recognized by the government. The government want them to register with them and do all kind of something. So one section of this constitution will formally recognize these different groups um, that will allow them to continue their way of life without being harassed, without being interfered with, and without being oppressed. Right? If we have a section of society that say, listen, we just want to be left alone. We are over here doing our own thing. Just make we live our way, make us separate ourselves and have our way of life. And we don't want to have no part of your society over there. So people should have that right. As long as they are not doing anything to break any of the laws, they should have that right to go live peaceful. If they want to go in a bush, if they want to build one castle, if they want to build one community, why would we stop something like that? You get what I say? So, as long as people are living peacefully, we should be able to respect. It's just like somebody practice one religion. Just because we not agree with it, that not means that them to stop. As long as they are not harming anyone, you left people make them do them thing. As long as it is not some kind of corruption or some kind of violation, we allow them. Supremacy of the Constitution. This Constitution is the highest law of Jamaica. Any law, regulation, or action that conflicts with this Constitution is invalid. And we talked about this before, right? Even though the Constitution, we're considering it to be the only law, a group might have their own law. A tribe might have their own law or their own regulation, right? As long as what they are doing does not conflict with what we have in the Constitution, they should be fine. Leave them alone. Equality before the law. All people are equal under the law. No person shall receive immunity or special protection from the law because of rank, wealth, political position, or public office. Plain law. All laws must be written in clear language. Hidden rules, unwritten assumptions, unwritten presumptions, unwritten doctrines, or secret interpretations of law shall not be recognized nor enforced. All right? Open government. All actions of government must be recorded and open to public review unless the safety of the people requires temporary secrecy, limited by time. So we can't have something like in the United States where them have, documents classified for 100 years or 50 years. No. It has to be situationally direct and limited by that time, in order to have any kind of so-called reduction or secrecy regarding any kind of public record from the government. Accountability. Every public official is personally responsible for the lawful exercise of their authority. Violations of the law by public officials shall be investigated and judged under the same law that applies to all citizens. So we don't have no special law for a public official. It doesn't matter what office you are in. If you break the law, you get the same punishment. It's that simple. Right? The punishments are clear. They are actually in here. So you can't even look forward to say, well, you are entitled to anything. Protection of the land. The land, rivers, forests, and seas of Jamaica belong to the people and must be protected for present and future generations. Civil participation. The people shall participate directly in important decisions of national importance or parish importance through open voting. Government shall not exist as a distant authority, but as a structure maintained by the people themselves. So when we talk about open voting, we're talking about live voting. When we have matters of national importance, right? We create a system that people can directly vote. We now vote through a representative. We now vote through a proxy. Every single individual who vote, we have vote on whether to do something or not to do something, to authorize something or not to authorize something. We would have the direct power based on our vote, right? So the voting system would be completely down whenever we are not voting, right? So nobody don't have access to even try to manipulate it. And once we have, the time comes when we need to vote on something, we open the voting, make it become live. You go on the system, you vote, and you're done. Right? If it is a case where we are seeing attacks coming in, or whatever the case may be, we make it something where you have to come in physically and come vote. Right? Live voting. You go in, each person we go through, we're supposed to say a one increment in vote. Right? And then over a national basis, we coordinate everything. So that's what we mean by open voting. Get rid of this ballot box and paper and finger dipping and all them something they know. No. You use your ID, some kind of ID number, and that's it. You go in, you vote, you're done. We don't need this ancient paper system and have everybody else a dip them hand in it and I see what I go on and all them something there. We just have a simple direct voting system where everybody can participate if they want to. Majority vote, it go through, or majority vote, it stop. It's that simple. Right? So, again, there are many sections in here. What all you have to do is you look through the table of contents on the second page. The table of contents right here. Yep. You can pick a section if you want to see if you find something that interests you. And you can look through and see if you want to make a suggestion or if you want to review the draft further. Right? And we have a few more additions to make based on the suggestions tonight. So we're going to update the draft for Wednesday. I think by next week, we can actually close off and complete this draft and move on to stage 2. We are literally right at the finish line. We just need to sharpen and focus the language of the draft and do a final review once we're done. All right. So again, for those who want to know how you get to the draft, you go to voiceofjamaica.com up here, so. All right. You scroll down, you click on New Constitution, and you can click on Constitutional Draft right here, and that is where you would find the Constitutional Draft document. This is the current draft that we were going over, so it is the current updated one, and this is going to be updated further. So on Wednesday, we're going to review the updated amendments, and then we'll go from there. All right, so big up on yourself. Thank you for joining, and we will continue on Wednesday. Big up on yourself. Lawful, always.